Okay, arbor correction. If I can find the damn thing. This is a Uberti, maybe 15 years old, Dragoon. On my page, on my business page, get this where you can really see it. I showed a picture and explained how the relief cut for the hand to clear the arbor on this gun, the hand had actually worn a groove in the arbor because the relief cut wasn't quite deep enough. You can see that while I had the arbor out, I filed and touched it up to where it was at least even with the hand slot. It's actually maybe 15 thousandths under the hand slot. So these guns typically, I've already done some work here, so I'm going to have to try to do it as though it was. Typically, when you put these guns together, if you put the barrel on the arbor, the barrel will go past the frame. I mean, obviously it can't when it's up against the frame, but if you turn it to like 9 o'clock and wiggle it a little bit, you'll see that the arbor, the end of this arbor, which normally doesn't have that set screw in it, goes too deep into the lug, the hole in the barrel lug. That is not supposed to be that way. The only strength in this gun is the barrel and arbor interface down in the barrel lug. Okay? If you don't have it touching there, you're putting all that force and weight every time you shoot it, every time you wedge it, every time you do anything with it on the arbor and binding the armor upwards. The shoulder on this arbor is very small. I don't have, do I have one out? Hang on, I have one. Okay. So on a Dragoon, it is larger than an Army or a Navy. But what happens when an arbor gets loose is this shoulder right here starts to roll over. And as that becomes rounded all the way around, or in this case it would be at the bottom, as it starts to become rounded, the amount of slop in these threads allows this arbor to start wiggling up and down. And that's a loose arbor. Ubertis, I call it the short arbor syndrome, because it's going to happen. On second and third generation Colts, I see it brand new guns that haven't even been fired because they didn't put enough bind into this. They didn't index this arbor up against that shoulder like a rifle barrel tightly. They just put it up there kind of loose, and then it just starts wiggling. When you over wedge the barrel, you cam the barrel upwards. We're doing this through the camera. You cam the barrel upwards, and it pivots on those pins right there. So every time you over wedge it, you cam it upwards, you put pressure upwards on this arbor. It also changes your point of impact. So you can literally lower your point of impact by having me do an arbor correction in a lot of guns that are over wedged. So what I do is I drill the pin out. This one I haven't even put the pin back in yet. Drill the pin out in the back of here. I unscrew this arbor from the frame. You saw the threads on the other one. I chuck it up in the lathe. I spot drill it. I drill and tap, and I insert a set screw. And I adjust that set screw. Of course, it gets Loctited in place once it's adjusted, to the point, and this one's tight, that barrel gap, and you'll notice it's crooked. It's quality control right there. But until this barrel gap is correct, or this gap between the barrel and the frame is touching, but not over touching, and that now all the pressure, everything you do, is directly in line with this arbor. And you'll see, if you look in this hole, if I line up the back, okay, so we're perpendicular here, you see that dark spot in that hole? That's how much the arbor was too short. And so when you try to wedge this gun, which goes in from the other side, when you try to wedge this gun, ooh, this is hard to do on camera. Okay, that wedge now only goes in that far. So the angular side of that wedge, I have to file that angular side, narrow the wedge. It has to remain wedge shaped. That's why it's called a wedge. And I have to keep that angle on it, but I have to file that wedge until this spring tab right here on the end comes up and pops over the edge of the frame. So that wedge has got to come in quite a bit. I have to file it quite a bit. Once I do that, you should be able to insert this wedge with 2 thumbs, and you should be able to push this wedge out with 2 thumbs. The wedge doesn't do anything more than that. Hammering them in is not how they work. Okay? You're just putting undue strain on your gun. So that's an arbor correction. And it needs to be done on 90+% of all your birdies. The bigger guns like this, they have less problems because they have a larger shoulder on the arbor. But if you're going to start shooting cartridges in one of these with a cartridge conversion, it should be done. I didn't do them for the longest time on the bigger guns, but now I'm starting to see some of those guns that were converted 20 years ago come back to me needing it done. Yeah. You know, shipping each way keeps going up and up and up. You're going to have $30, $40, maybe $50 in shipping both ways. And I charge $125 to do an arbor correction. Do it while the gun's here. That's it. Hope you understand. If you don't, if you have questions, contact me. Reach out to me on my Facebook business page, Cartridge Conversion Revolvers. Thank you.